All right, well, welcome everybody. I'll kick us off. I want to thank you all for coming to the Brubaker lecture. We've got a big crowd online also. Really excited to have James Dixon here with us. I'll just do a quick intro. I first want to talk about the Cliff Brubaker, why this is named after Cliff Brubaker, and just make sure that all you know. So Cliff was the dean of SHRS until about 10 years ago. He served as dean for about 25 years. And he started our department, Rehab Science and Technology, when he came here. He recruited Dave Rienza, who's one of our, as you know, helped develop the research program in SHRS. And he, was to Cliff, what he did was really highlight the importance of technology in rehab by developing the department, but also helping to infuse that across the school. He substantially grew the school into almost what it was today, what it is now. And the Tony DeLito, who was the dean for 10 years, just stepped down recently, then continued to build on that. So this is really in recognition of the former Dean Brubaker and why we have this lecture every year. And it is our great pleasure to be hosting James Dixon. He's a best-selling author, an international speaker, and the founder of Absolute Motivation. His work's been recognized by prestigious honors, including the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. He was recently knighted for his contributions to humanity. His message is to inspire, to instill, encourage people to overcome life's challenges. His book, if you haven't read it, I'm through about half of it now, is incredibly inspiring in terms of where, challenges that he overcame, starting from when he was, a baby. And so working through societal pressures and discrimination and those types of things. And so it's a really inspiring message that I really look forward to hearing more about. And he's especially dedicated to, serving and inspiring people with disabilities, amputees, veterans. And of course, this is what we all do in RST, is really support and help empower individuals with disabilities. And so we're excited to hear from James, his lens on this, his experience, and how he overcame the challenges in his life and have inspired others to do the same. So please give a round of applause for David.
Thank you, Sam. First of all, I'm honored that you would even take the time to come in and spend time with me. I hope to encourage you. I hope to say some positive things to you. And that's not my name up there, but I'm glad to have everyone here. And so I've hired a new assistant.
Should have paid more money if you were a better assistant.
I want to share my journey with you guys, and I think the best way for me to begin is simply by saying thank you. Thank you for all of you who have dedicated your lives to making the lives of others better. Thank you for all of you who have gotten involved with, whether it be the physical therapist who decided you wanted to spend your life building prosthetics or educating or inspiring others. Because you make the difference for me to be able to be different. I was thinking about this, spending my life, it began in a pit. I was born in Anderson, Indiana, and my struggle was that I was the first in my family to be born with a disability. First one to have any problem with his legs that they couldn't understand. In fact, I was 90 days old when I had my first surgery. At the end of that surgery, my mom thought it was overwhelming. She's 18, said, I can't handle this, Mama. I need your help. And so she gave me to my grandmother because the man she had me with, my father, said, I can't give birth to a cripple. It's just impossible. And so he rejected me and she felt rejected. And in return, she said, let me give it to my grandmother, though. Figured that a baby has value no matter what. Whether you're born in the pit or you climb out of the pit, everybody has a trial or a struggle they got to overcome in order to become something. It's where that philosophy became ingrained in me, the idea that in order to become something, you have to go through something. All of us go through some challenge. My challenges happen to be physical, but then I also had to deal with the emotional aspect. Growing up, all I ever wanted was acceptance, and I thought maybe if I'm good, maybe Dad will accept me or something. So I would see my father, and I could remember him giving the promises that he's going to come by and see me. I remember getting on the phone. He's like, "Hey, listen, I'm going to come by, but you got to be out in front. If you're not out in front, I'm going to keep going by." And so I can remember staying outside, and I'm telling Mom, "My dad's coming to see me." I go out front, I sit in front of the house, and I'm waiting on him. I'm looking for every red truck that goes by because he's going to stop if I see him. My dad is finally going to give me a sense of acceptance. It wasn't just about excitement of seeing Dad. It was the idea of being accepted. Grandma loved me unconditionally, yes. But it was something about the way that my father and mother weren't there that made me feel a void. Waiting on him to come by, my father drives by. That's all I need. He drives by, he'll stop. He never comes. My mom comes outside and said, "Boy, it's time to come back inside now." And I thought, if I go in, though, he's not coming. I got to stay here. My mom was like, "Your dad's not coming." I was like, what did I do wrong? What did I do that I'm not accepted? What did I do wrong that I can't be loved? It puts self-doubt in me, and the fact that I can't be conditionally, I can't be loved unless I'm perfect or whatever it is. I don't know what to do. How do I overcome? And so a sense of shame comes over me about the fact that I have a disability. So I spent all my time trying to cover it up. In fact, the one time I wore shorts that my father saw me as a kid, he said, "Boy, cover that up. Nobody wants to see that." And so I got ashamed of it, and I wouldn't wear shorts again. Every 6 months, I was going through surgeries. I'm 11 years old, and all I've ever had is buildups. Then I had walkers. I've had crutches. I've had wheelchairs, and I don't know why. My grandmother, for all that she loved me and all that she was, struggled with literacy. And all she knows is that we're going to trust the doctors and we're going to pray and ask God. That's all we're going to do, babe. Mom, not involved in all those things. I don't even know why I'm having surgeries, but it's all I ever know. Every 6 months, I'm in the hospital. I get out of the hospital. Be careful with him. Don't hurt him. So the whole neighborhood calls me the crippled kid that's always on the porch. Felt like I was in the pit. Life keeps going by and moments go by. There happened to be a neighbor that was across the street. He was a Shriner. He sees my grandmother and says, "Let me ask you, ma'am, what's wrong with the boy?" I said, "Well, he's got something wrong with his leg. One was uneven or something, and they trying to surgery. And it seems to be a challenge with them trying to get it fixed, and they don't know what to do. They've tried everything." And so here's what ends up happening. He says, "I'm willing to take him to Chicago from Indiana. If you'll let me, they'll take a look at your boy. And if they can fix him, we will. If we can help him, we will. And it won't cost you anything."
Let's see if I could do that.
This commercial brought to you by the University of Pittsburgh. So the challenge I have there is that my mom and dad have to come back together. Because when you get to Chicago to the Shriners, you got to have the parents. And though my grandmother had me legally, she didn't have authority. Mom and dad get into the van. We go up to Chicago. And the first time my mom and dad are together, it's odd for me, but I'm also happy. We get to the hospital, and along the way, I got to stop because the best thing ever happened. because they took me to Cracker Barrel and the guy who took us said, you can have whatever you want. And I'm like, you serious? So I can start with dessert. Yes, you can. I can start with dessert. And grandma's not here to stop me. And I was like, do I have to eat everything on my plate? He said, no, you don't. I'm like, this guy is awesome. Because grandma makes me eat everything. So I'm like, get that candy, that candy. Even my parents were like, hey, you know, that's enough candy. And then they were like, he goes, you can get some too. And my dad like, yeah, then let's get that one too, some Chico sticks. He got twice as much as I did. He shamed my mom to a point like that. That's enough, you know? So we got all this candy and stuff, and we're just snacking away and we get to the hospital. I'm used to the hospital. You see, I've always been in the hospital. It's all I've ever known. I go in, I get out. I go in, I get out. I go stay with grandma. So they take me to the hospital and they give me a tour. And it's the first time I see kids like me. I'd never seen one. I'm 11. And I remember they were wheeling me around. They were taking me back and forth and showing me all around the place. And they take me to Great Lakes Division in the Shriners Hospital. And they're like, look at this. They have a wheelchair decorating contest. And then they have this and they're popping willies. And I'm like, man, this is, I'm glad to be here. And then so they give me the tour and I'm like, this is the coolest place ever. And we leave and they bring me to a room. I guess it's a consultation room to talk to me and my parents. And my mom and dad, I can imagine the nurses on there and thought this was going to be an emotional moment for them to tell me, hey, we're going to have to leave you. And I'm like, okay, see you later. Because I got kids to play with and I'm not accustomed to having you because my life began in the past. My mom says, I'll be back as soon as I can. She leaves. My dad takes a moment with me, I guess feeling some sense of guilt or conscience bother and says, hey, here's a necklace. He takes a necklace off and puts it in my hand and said, if you ever need me, just have them put it in the mailbox and I'll show up. And I believed him because he's never told me this before. So they take me down to my room and I meet my two roommates. And on the left side of me, I've got a guy named Gilbert. On the right side, I've got Matt. Matt is this wonderful kid. He's got both parents always there loving on him, but he's real fragile. He's undersized. His bones and everything are just crooked a little bit. And they don't want you to touch him and stuff like that. He's real sensitive to. And there's all kind of things going on. He's only 8, but he's got a great personality. Laughs, he cracks jokes, and his parents bring in gifts all the time. He's just great to have as a roommate. On the other side, I've got Gilbert. Gilbert is from Chicago, Cabrini Green. He is in there and he's paralyzed from the neck down because some kid threw him off the balcony. So he's there, but he's 12. There's a mirror they placed on the ceiling that allowed me to look up and he could look up and Matt could look up and we could talk to Gilbert. And so we would talk all night to each other. And sometimes I would just make up stuff so that Matt said, what did he say? He said he don't like you. Why? He said wants to know why you don't like him. I didn't say I don't like him. All right, he says it's you that don't. I'm just clowning around back and forth. I'm just playing the middleman. I just realized we just had a great time always together. Matt's got surgery coming up, and so Matt goes out for surgery. Mom and dad are in there, and we watch them pray together and all that stuff. And man, we long to have what Matt had because Matt had both parents always there. Mom and dad, extended family, always coming down to visit him. Neither one of us had anybody. Matt goes off to surgery. See you in a minute, bud. He goes off. Later that day, his mom and dad come in and they start giving us toys. They give me a teddy bear. I was like, thank you. And I said, when is Matt coming back? And his father says, Matt went home. And I was like, he didn't even come in and say bye. And they were like, no. Matt didn't go home that way. Matt didn't make it. And I was like, so he's not. he's not coming back. And I'm like, no. And so the first time in my life I experienced death, and it's a friend of mine. He was 8. Now I'm afraid of the surgery they're talking about having for me. Because my friend's gone. And his parents loved on us last and gave us a teddy bear. And now I don't know what's going to happen. I wish more time had gone by, but the very next day, after Gilbert and I tried to communicate with each other about what we felt, and at that time, they didn't have someone come in and talk to you about what you experienced. That night, me and him just talked. And they came in and say that tomorrow your mom's coming to see you, Gilbert. Gilbert is excited because, man, he has been waiting on his mom this whole time. All he ever talked about is my mom would get here. He didn't want to be in the clothes that they had given him at the hospital. He wanted to be in the clothes that mom had gotten him. And so I remember them dressing him and picking his hair out and stuff. And so we're talking. He said, well, mom get here, you're going to see. She's funny. She's this, that, and the other. He's telling me all about his mom. And I was like, man, I can't wait to meet your mom, man. And so when she comes in the room, there's a conversation and she's like, hi. He said, Mama, this is James. She's like, hi. I said, hi. And then they closed the curtain between us. Now, when they close the curtain between us, they act like I couldn't still see him. Now I'm sitting there and I'm just, and when she saw him look up, she looked up. So I looked away like I didn't see that she could see me, but I'm going to look again. I'm just going to let you know. And so anyway, she was like, pay attention, baby. I need to talk to you. And so I'm just watching and I hear her say to him, Gilbert, they tell me you're not going to get it better. This is it for you. This is the way you are. This is the way life is going to be. I'm young, baby. It ain't fair to me that how am I supposed to take care of somebody that can't do nothing? You understand? It's too hard for me I'm too young to have a baby that can't do nothing. So I'm giving you to these people. I'm turning over my rights. I just can't do this. And she turns to leave. That's it. No discussion back with him, no, as he began to plead, and it was the first time I ever heard a kid beg for mercy. And he can't move anything else other than his head. And he's like, Mama, mercy. Mama, have mercy. Mama, I won't be bad anymore. Mama, please. Mama, Mama, please have mercy. She keeps walking, doesn't turn back, doesn't say anything. Because she had had enough. She had washed her hands of it. It's on y'all now. She accelerated out and he becomes nonverbal. Hey man, you okay? He won't talk. I watch him try to hold his breath, trying to take his life, biting his tongue. I'm like, hey, Gilbert's giving up in here. Matt's gone. Gilbert won't talk. I'm alone. I'm in the pit. I'm struggling now. It dawned on me. Neither my mother nor my father have come back. And grandma lives in Indiana. Can't read, can't write, doesn't drive. I'm alone. They had asked me if I wanted to have my leg amputated, and I said no. They had me take a bath that night. And they said, you should special soap, James. And take and I washed that side of my leg. I trusted them. Next day I wake up, my legs. I felt betrayed, isolated, alone. I'm in the pit. I'm sitting there and I'm hurting. I remember the doctor coming in to check on me, and I'm angry. And when he gets close, I grab my pillow and I'm trying to hit him. I'm angry. Why did you take that from me? And now they're gone because I just figured out that if you can't move, your parents leave you. Or if I stay here, I'm going to die and grandma's gone. I'm struggling because I'm in the pit of life. I'm in the pits of a situation. I feel horrible and there's no one to comfort me. And I say, here's nurse, here's the necklace. Send that to my dad. He said, I don't have an address for him. So he's not coming. I'm struggling. Apparently they called my mom and said how the surgery went. 2 days after my surgery, my mom shows up. And when I see her coming in, she's walking in and she's angry. And it's very reminiscent of Gilbert's mom. And I said, okay, she's leaving me. I see her. And as she's coming towards me, I don't want to mess it up. I don't want her to, and I try to look surprised. I say, hey, mom. She said, don't say hi to me. Don't say anything to me. I heard you were disrespectful to an adult. Don't you know any better? Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry. Don't you ever act like that. Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry. All I'm doing is pleading with her. Don't leave me. I'm struggling with that because I've just seen this stuff in here and no one's talked to me about it and she's not aware of it at all. And there's a nurse that had tried for a day and a half to tell me that after your amputation, what we'll do for you, you will get up again, you will walk, you will run, you will play sports. I've never done any of those things, but she has told me that she's done this over and over again with many kids. And with a below the knee amputee, I can get up and do things. Now I have a solution to all my issues. I believe there. And so I don't want to lose my mom. When she comes in, she's angry. I'm like, Mom, I'm going to be able to play basketball. I want to be able to run. Because I need to seem as lively as possible so she doesn't think I'm like Gilbert. He's still not talking. The Bears had even come in the day before. Mike Singletary came into my room. He's trying to tell us they just won the Super Bowl. He's in my room telling me, kid, you're going to change the world one day. One day you're going to inspire people one day, kid. All these things. And he couldn't get a smile out of me. He couldn't get me to believe anything he was saying. In fact, I began to think, like, why do I have him in here? I want the fridge. The fridge. Man, seriously, the fridge was the more popular one. And I saw the fridge go that way. And I'm wondering why I got you. That's all I was thinking at the time. And so Mike Singletary grabbed the front of the little chair I was in, and he's like trying to encourage me. And all I could think of was, please go get the fridge, you know? And he even offered me a jersey then. And I said, no, thank you. I would like to get, and so he didn't give me that one or go get me another one. But now I'm there. A day later, my mom's there. I'm trying to look as spry as possible. Yeah. I want to be accepted. I want you to see I've got some value. I said, Mom, she says, I'm going to play basketball. I said, I'll be able to run. I'll be able to do stuff like other kids. And my mom said, man, don't give my son false hope. Whatever you do, stop lying to him because he ain't never done that stuff. And he never will be. She looked at me and she said, you understand you're a cripple. I turned and looked at the nurse and I was like, hey, tell her the stuff you were telling me. And my mom grabs my face, turns back to her and says, you're a cripple. That's all you are. That's all you will ever be. You understand that? Pause for a moment and I'm going to turn back towards the nurse and my mom gets upset. So she slaps me and said, you hear what I said? And I grabbed my face and said, yes, ma'am. She said, what are you? I said, I'm a cripple. I broke. And she said, what does that mean? I said, that's all I am. That's all I will ever be. I'm a cripple. She said, the sooner you learn that. You see, she saw me based on my resume. She thought she misunderstood what the pit was about. There will be people who will judge you in life on your resume. Your resume can only tell people what you used to do. It does not tell you what you can't do. It doesn't show what you're capable of. It doesn't give an indication that there's a whole nother version of you that hasn't been discovered. And based on my resume, yes, I've never ran in my life. Yes, I've never done all those things. I've never played basketball, but it doesn't mean it's not possible. Why? Because there was someone who went to Pitt that decided I would study, I would learn, I would change the life of some kid. Some PT had developed a skill set, a passion, and was going to develop something so that a kid like me would one day be able to do those things, and the slap could be erased because you put your stamp on that kid's race. That race of life. I'm sitting there, and all I can think of is if somebody could get my grandma, please. The nurse, being kind-hearted when my mom left, said, baby, do you know your grandmother's phone number? And I was like, yeah. She said, I'm not supposed to do this, but I gotta get somebody. And I said, 765-649-9882. She calls. She didn't come back and tell me what happened or anything. I'm just not talking either now. Because mom's gone and she didn't apologize and she didn't say anything else. She didn't say she's coming back. All I got is the teddy bear and my friend won't talk. The next day, I hear someone walking around yelling, where's my baby at? And it's my grandmother. Without that ability to read, without that ability to write, she went to a Greyhound bus station, gave them money, got somewhere, trusted everybody they were leading her to the right place, came in and said, baby, it's time to get up. You're still Superman. You see, from the time I was born, she dressed me with Superman logos and told me that I'm not crippled, I got kryptonite, I just got to figure out how to overcome it. She made me believe that I had been given a superpower, that what was wrong with me was only going to be mentally, that I was still able, that I didn't have to accept the fact that people called me disabled. She had the mindset that go disabled, that is Godis able, God is able. She believed a whole different philosophy and she poured that into me. If she doesn't walk in and tell me to get up and go, I don't try. I wouldn't try PT. No champion could have gotten me to do it. No one else could have, but one voice got me to trust and to go to rehab. Now, she couldn't teach me anything once I got there, but you guys could. I remember when I first got there to PT, I'm sitting there and I got to get up because Grandma said, so I'm ready because she's back and she's got me believing. And I remember they were showing us different people walking through and they were talking about, look at the gaits and the way people walk. And I'm like, okay. And they brought in a doctor. He walks past us kids. And they were like, would you like to walk like him? I'm like, no, not him. And so they had like 3 or 4 other people. And they were like, no, not like him either. And it was really weird. There was a lady who walked in and she was walking and she was doing this thing. And I was like, nah, I don't walk like that either. But in the distance, I saw this black guy who was a janitor cleaning. And as he was cleaning, he was also doing this thing, you know? And I was like, that dude, that's who we want to walk like. And all the kids, yeah, him. And they were like, no, no. So I wish you could have seen us trying to mimic this dude's gait. But every kid in the Shriners at that time all had this little thing in our wall because he did. He was a role model and exciting to us. And I can remember the fact that they made a leg for me to identify me. It pulled me out of a pit. You see, that is the task given to each and every one of us. To take students who are the first in their generation to show up to school and be like, I've got to become something. For you to be the person that gives someone an extension of their legacy and challenge them to build upon families they came from that were something. It is your task to inspire them so that they don't take it because of the income, but because of the outcome. How do I change lives? How do I make impacts? And when everyone else is measuring how much you make and how much you got, what type of house you have, you can look at a kid and say, you are building something much more powerful when you help people find purpose. There is nothing more moving than when you see someone stand up again who thought they'd never do it. Nothing more uplifting than the moments that you see, and the danger in it is that you can end up becoming callous to seeing miracles. Sometimes when you're working with patients, students may not understand that there will become amputees that are ungrateful. But it's not that they're hateful towards you. They're fearful because of someone else letting them down. You see, how many times have you seen us go in and we're going to get a new prosthetic and we sit there and we sit down and you take out, all right, we're going to do some measurements. We got plaster on you. Hey, all right, we got a test socket made up. And all right, do I get to leave with it? No, it'll be a few more weeks, come back. The moment that happens, our hopes go down. Because we've been wanting this new one. We're excited about it. And then even when you try to temper it and all that stuff, we keep wondering, why can't I have it now? The delay doesn't make sense. But then I thank you all that we're going back. And sometimes they don't know how much you've been appealing stuff so that they can get the right leg. Because insurance will deny them some things, and you'll go back and fight for them saying, this is what they need. So thank you for that. I'm telling you, when we finally get that leg, the one that allows you to walk further than you had, when you get past your 8-hour mark and you take it off and rest, when you get past the shrinkage and you do all those things that you got to get us past bad habits and things and fears and get us past the Facebook groups to give us misinformation and all that stuff. You see, when you get in the pit, you learn some valuable lessons that we have been given a superpower that other people can plug into and draw from. That we get to change a bloodline. Do you know what it did for my grandmother to see me walk? To see me run, to see me play basketball? I grew in such a way that I never needed the apology or the validation of my mother to say, you're not a cripple. Because I had someone who believed in me, but I had someone who made something for me that indemnified me, that made me whole. And as I would grow and adjust, they adjusted with me. The loyalty and the bond and the trust that I have to have with you, and I trust with you never to be casual with me because you changed my everything. You pull people out of the pit of despair, lack of hope, you were called to this moment. I struggled. I did. I struggled. I even asked God, why me? All my heroes served as veterans. All my uncles. On our mantelpiece, there were these flags that are folded, and each one represent a relative that has passed. And I saw the honor that we held for them, and I would never have that valor. So I started serving those that served. I started volunteering, going to the VA hospitals and talking to them and being there, whether they were transitioning in a moment, at the last moment, so they didn't die alone. I was there for those moments. I was there for them. I was there for them then. I was there when they took some steps. I was there to encourage them. I was there to correct them, not to hop around on one leg. I know it may seem easy, but you are wearing that out. You got so many hops left. How do you know? It's because of experience and what I've learned, and now it's my turn to tell them. But no matter how much of a peer advocate I am, no matter how much I peer in and tell them, I don't have what you have. Your experience and what it cost you to become you. The adaptive things you do to make a house available for us. For the fact that when I'm stuck there, laying in the bed. And for those that become too weak and struggling and they get bed sores, the fact that you've dedicated 37 years of your life to changing that. And there's still more for you. There's still things you're going to solve and come up with. You're creating breakthroughs. No matter what advancement you make, you realize you still need to pull people out the pit. There's work we still have to do. I'm thinking about my why. I started off with why me, God. I wanted to serve was my valor, and then I found my valor was in serving those who serve. I became the voice and the person that speaks for and with the Medal of Honor recipients, the highest honor we can give to a soldier. I found myself standing in the Oval Office speaking on behalf of amputees and beyond. And I find that in my voice was a gift, and that Mike Singletary was right, that I just didn't understand it because I was looking for something out of a fridge that was supposed to be in the oven. A month ago, less than a month ago, I get a phone call. And there's a guy named Mike Singletary that wants to meet me for breakfast. 40 years later, we sat down in Park City, Utah, and I got the chance to speak to him one-on-one. And when he sat down, I grabbed the front of his chair. I told him what he told me. Mike broke. I was like, sometimes you may think that people aren't listening and that your good work, your good words, your good deeds are being wasted, but they're never wasted. Through the resistance of my heart and my mind at that moment, those words set in like a seed. It was watered with time and care from others, but he planted it. And now full grown with all the things that I do. They're talking about you reach millions of people. I do, but I do as an extension of everyone that's in this room. I don't do it alone. I might be known, but I'm known because of what you've done. You made miracles. I walk not on a prosthetic, but I walk on the thing that you imagined, you dreamed for me, you prayed about and thought about for me. Handcrafted it. You thought about when I sat down and will it pinch in the back? You thought about will it have a right suction? You thought about situations long before I stepped into them. Because you want to pull people out of the pit. Mike gives me the manuscript of his upcoming book and asked me to review it first. Then said, would you write a foreword? 40 years later. You can't make that up, and then you understand, but why? Why would God do this to me? It's because he needed someone who would have a why. And then I realized I was wrong. I was never in a down pit. I was headed to pit. I came here, and I'm just going to pour my heart out to you guys. I cried for the little boy who felt alone. I cried for the boy who lost his grandmother. But now I cried gratitude for the choices you've made to serve humanity. For the days you came to work and taught others. For what you've poured out of you into others, thank you. For the lives you will change, thank you. For giving me back the dignity so that I could walk and my kids could see me walk in and not have to crawl around. You gave me dignity and valor back. Thank you for that. For the things you do for my brother Lance. And that's for what you're willing to let them practice on so that somebody else could have value. You are all superheroes to me. Because you have chosen a life of service. The impact that you make, it lasts. When I go over to Ireland, I speak. When I'm speaking in London, when I'm all that, it's an extension of you because of what was done for me. And I owe you a gratitude. Until my last breath, I will serve and I will give and I will direct people back to people like you that change everything. There will be more amputees. Diabetes is going up, not down. There will be more bed sores. And you will be used to help find solutions to ease someone's pain. As I get older, it dawned on me the days we're walking through the house. There'll be adjustments that need to be made. And the fact that you are already thinking of that. You truly pull people out of the pit because what comes out of the pit. I have asked someone to give me a call. I was going to close with this, and I will still. I have the privilege that they're going to take my life story and do a movie. I was in Seattle, Washington. They were there. We had a letter of intent from Angel Studios. They were moving forward. They were like finding financing. I went to one party to speak at a birthday party with Ray Lewis and Michael Jordan, Tom Brady. They're all there at this gathering, but it was a philanthropy thing. And as we're there together, I'm talking about it. And one of the guys said, the founder of Priceline.com, Jeff Hoffman, says, hey, listen, I want you to let me tell your story. I'm forming this group and I'm going to Lionsgate. We'll do this. Can we do your movie as our first movie? And last night, the first 10 million came in for it. It won't be a movie about me. That's the only agreement. It will be told through the eyes of my grandmother, for every hope and every dream that she did have, for every prayer she gave, and for every answer I walk in. I want it to be a legacy message. I want to make heroes out of the people who play the role as a prosthetist and the physical therapist that are there. I needed to educate people. Now I understand why I needed to be in the pit. Because if I had the same view of everyone else, I'd have never seen what I could be. But because I felt down, I had to look up. And if you can look up, you can climb up. When this comes out, there will be people who will be like, man, he's a star, this, that, and the other, but it's not. Because it's not mine, it's ours. Absolute Motivation was started because I was trying to leave a message for amputees. Motivation that moves you is the moniker. And I realized it wasn't just about amputees. It was about everyone who's had a reason to be on their knees, to get out of the pit, so they can find out the value of pit. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no, we got a few minutes. We got a few minutes to answer any questions you might have. Yeah. All right, Matt, first one. So earlier today, you got a chance to.
Let me get back on the camera for
All right.
the
Earlier today,
Jocelyn.
you got a chance to visit a number of areas. Part of that had to do with your visit to the Human Engineering Research Lab in RST. But one of the things you said that struck a chord with me was that despite your advancements and the fact that you worked for General Motors and had employment, you were still operating off of the same prosthetic for
Yes.
20 years. That would be a surprise to most people in the room.
Right. So I aged out of 3 prosthetics at 18. And so when I turned 18, that was the end of it. And the family not having the right insurance or things of that nature left me with that one prosthetic. And when it broke the socket, the only solution I had is I duct taped it and to keep it together. Back of it would constantly pinch me. I just would have to deal with it. I wore tube socks still. I put the first one on backwards and then I pulled based upon ad socks based upon shrinkage or whatever I was dealing with today, but I just grinned and bear it. Whatever I had to deal with, I dealt with because this was just a life that I had to live, I thought. When I finally did get insurance and got a new prosthetic, I had already been in the same leg for over 20 years though. I'm only 9 pounds heavier than I was when I graduated high school now because I was always told you can't fluctuate too much one way or the other. The negative of that, what if I had lost more weight? What if I had wanted to get healthier and lose more weight? See, there's a whole lot of people out there that go to a process who say if there's no money, then we don't do any work. Even if it was just repair work. When you get money, come back and see us. And so for all of the work that you do, thank you. That was the answer to your question. Yeah. Is there anyone else with another question that you might have? Yes, ma'am.
Sir, if I may, have you thought of or have you talked to Lionsgate or Angel Studios about the similarity of your story to the Book of Esther?
No, but there is some great things for such a time as this, right? And so it's funny, last night we were talking about what's a working title. And so the one we settled on is Born for This. It's the idea of, and the hashtag, the social media things that we can use off of that as well. Realizing that you were born for this. Whatever it is that you're dealing with, the trial, only you could handle it. You were made for what you do. It's not just an occupation for you, it's become who you are. And so I appreciate it, but yet it's deeply connected, but I appreciate that. Yeah. The only thing I've asked them not to do is not to take out the faith aspect.
Good.
Yeah. You know, I don't want, also I had to say this. I had one guy come to me and was like, hey, I'd like to write your book, but I'd like to make you a white kid out of Kansas. I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that. You know, that's hard to explain. I'm like, ta-da! It happened, tanning booth accident.
Well, thank you for telling your story. You're like a present day Esther.
Thank you for the encouragement. I really mean that. Thank you, sister.
So how long were you at the hospital? How old were you when you left, and did you go back to live with your grandmother?
So, when I was, the amputation episode of 11, and I had to stay at the Shriners. I was 12 when I moved back to Indiana, and I went straight to my grandmother's. My mom had met a guy, started dating in Evanston, Illinois, and was like, we could just stay here. And I was like, I need to get back. And no matter what she was trying to talk me into to stay with her, I was like, I need to get back with grandma. And so I did. I got back to my grandmother's, and you know, I gotta say, for any of you that are grandparents, you have no idea how much you need it. You have no idea. As great as your kids might be like, hey, great parents, there's still stuff they don't know yet, that only you can pass on. So your impact is so big. I know you just went to Disney World, you took him. So, for those who don't know, Daniel was taken to Disney World. No, you got to go to be Mickey Mouse. There you go.
Do you still do stuff like for the Shriners now that you're?
So you know what, my big goal this year I would like to do, I shared earlier with Daniel, in January, I hold a thing in Atlanta where I take terminal kids and amputees, children, and it's kind of like Make-A-Wish, but it's called Gold Digger. You set a goal, if you go accomplish it, I'll hold you accountable to get to that. So you come and we host a big thing for them. And so I began doing that, but then I kept thinking, well, I need to go back and do something for Shriners. And so we're going to be filming part of it at the Chicago Shriner, where I lost, where my amputation took place, and I'm going to raise some funds for them and do some things. I wanted to, it's hard for me to get certain days scheduled, but I want to make the biggest bang that I can for them. So I know with the influence and some of the things I have now that I can raise millions. I want to make sure that I can leverage it the right time for the biggest thing, right? Yeah, so that's at least my goal.
I was curious about your experience with clinicians that look like you. Our profession in particular is, grossly underrepresented from any kind of degree.
I'm glad you asked that.
And I just wondered,
Well, so
what is your experience?
So here's what I did. I didn't meet person of color that was a clinician until I ran into one at an amputee at a convention. It's called Richardson Prosthetics. I met him. Rondell is his name, and I never used him, but I met him. That was only when I met, and then he introduced me to 4 others. And they have there's an African American clinician group that meets out of Baylor University. They hold their things there. So I went there, spoke for them, but there was an issue I saw when I came there. One, I gave a scholarship to any student that they chose. They were giving away $500 scholarships, and I was like, that's not enough. So I took $15,000 and gave it to 3 different students. My only commitment was that they just have to commit to be a clinician, right? But then when I noticed there that there was the older ones were still fighting for validation, if you will. And I was like, man, the battle needs to switch over to inspiration. If you're the bitter person, like, hey, they didn't do this, man, in big places, Hanger's buying everything, Olson's buying everything, everybody's taking everything from us, right? If you're that person, no one wants to be around you. No one wants to grow up to be you. But if you're the person who is the Rosa Parks, right? You say, I stood for something so that you can have something. That they want to be. And so that was kind of the focus, like, man, if we're going to get others to come into it and we're affected so much by it, you need to project that. You need to speak about that. You need to inspire that. You need to help fund that. You need to be marketing for that, because most of them didn't know how to if you look at, most OMPs struggle with even marketing. If you look at their videos, you know, it's always just poor, you know. But imagine if you took Lance and you took a video of him, and instead of the weird music thing and you have him walking like a robot, you take the video of him and you show the progression and you talk about the relationship. Because people connect to connections, not just advertisement. Emotions are the spark plug to the will. And I think those clinicians, my advice to them was like, man, you have to learn to market so that people will trust you to bring you their family. As one amputee, the moment I got my new prosthetic, the clinician that I went and got my new leg from, I brought him 73 people in less than 2 months. And then as my social media grew, I brought in so many people that he wanted to pay me to leave my job, you know? And he was like, you know, they would give me leads like, hey, there's an amputee at that hospital. And I would get there and I see people just dropping off bags and stuff like that. And just kind of, you know, and some of them had relationships with different doctors, nurses there. And so they automatically made it the assumption as if the person didn't have a choice. And so I'd go in and I'm like, hey, let the lights on, you know, you don't have to be depressed, you know, this is the process and express. Then you show them, because most of them don't even see an amputee, right? Not very many. How many clinicians do you have that are also amputees? Yeah. And so when an amputee comes in and I was sitting there talking, they were like, yeah, the hospital recommended this place. I said, you ain't gonna listen to that. This is what you can do. Have them come in, talk to them about what you're going to, if they're not asking you about your life, the life you want to live, not just the life you've lived. Because if you've been in pain a long time, maybe you got sedentary. But that doesn't mean that's where you want to stay. So the one that will go fight to get you a K3 if you instead of a K1, a K2, that's what you want. And so if anything, that's the conversation I have with them. I think they can increase that, but you got to project that these people, you're a trailblazer, you're a forerunner, you can become successful, you can make a difference, you can change blood. You have to sell that, I think, in order to recruit more of that.
Recruiting.
It is. Yeah.
Marketing.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
I'm wondering when you kind of found this as your path to do inspirational talks. Did it come from, you know, a certain event in your life where you were working with somebody and they were inspired, or was it through your spirituality?
Well, thank you for asking, and I think the best way for me to answer that is this. There is a post on my social media. So my social media that I'm mostly on is Instagram. And it's like Superman is the number 4 reel, right? And there's a guy that you'll see me on there with, and I just posted last night. I went to visit him. His name is Francis Bell. Francis Bell is like many of the ones I've met along the way. But the one that sparked it before Francis Bell was a kid named Marcus. I got a call. They asked me to come visit this kid. And they were saying that if he had sickle cell, he's got all this stuff. He aged out of foster care and the family wasn't getting more money for him, so we put him out. He had a scratch, he didn't take care of it, all these other issues happened. And they were like, if he doesn't do the amputation, it'll lead to his death. And he was like, I have no family, I have no reason to live, I'm not doing it. And so they called me up and asked me if I would come talk to him, someone who knew. So I get there and we have this conversation and he was like, but nobody will be here for me anyway. And I promised him, when you come out of surgery, I'll be here. I'll be your family. That commitment with him led to even more. And then when it's Marcus, they were saying he couldn't get a prosthetic. He didn't have they were going to give him a trash piece of leg. And I agreed to do a free speaking engagement for a clinician, and I would also do videos for him if he would do something for Marcus. So he gave him a leg. In return, I did work for him for a few months. And then the more I did that, the more people I met. And so it was one triggering person that led me to keep doing that. And then when I would hear more, then the TV show The Bachelor had a kid named Cam Ayala. Cam was on The Bachelorette, and he had lymphedema and became an amputee. And the moment he lost his leg, someone reached out to me and asked if I would talk with him. So I flew into Dallas, go spend time with him. This is right after losing his leg. Then I began to work with him, and now he climbs mountains and does all this stuff. But I got him going immediately. And so, yeah, one person led me to another, and none of those were recorded. It's just word of mouth. And then all of a sudden it got so big that I became that person. And then I realized I could, instead of me whispering in one person's ear, let me say it louder. And when the volume of my message got louder, when I came off of mute and I got over the embarrassment of losing my leg and found joy in this thing, right? The fact that it's impossible for me to lose money getting a pedicure, you know, all these wins that happen on my side now. And it just changed everything, you know? And so, yeah, it was one person was the spark plug. Yeah. And no one else.
I have one more.
Yes, ma'am.
You've been using prosthetics for a very long time.
40 years.
And the technology has changed significantly. And
Yeah.
that
I used to have a
changed-
white foot.
Yeah,
I mean, you guys, anybody knows that that's all they gave was rubber white feet, and people. I'm not mixed.
Yeah, what I was gonna ask, but obviously we've got people who are inspired by lots of different things in the room, right? There's lots of clinicians, but also some researchers. And those innovations come from ideas that come from people like yourself and are designed and developed using student labor a lot. I was wondering if you could just share a bit about the trajectory from the kind of technology you started on to where you are now. I think you used to use a sash foot.
Oh man,
How did that change?
I had a bolt that went through the heel, and sometimes the foot would get hit, and then the foot's spinning all around and stuff. You try to get it just right if you're at home, whatever, but never could get it quite right and stuff like that. But it was just, they made it look crayon brown. And then I had the ones with the Velcro straps that would put the flap, and you would put the Velcro on and all that stuff to try to keep it in tight, but it would create this little square on your residual that would itch all the time and get bothered by it. And I went from that with the straps that go around up across your hips, down here, and it would rub here. I had the 20-pounders, really heavy for no reason type stuff. And then finally, I thought it was a big invention when they finally came out with the black feet. Because it took forever, but then they used to not make them. I wore a size 15 and I couldn't get a shoe foot. They always gave me like a 9.5 or whatever on the other side. So I put socks in the front of it. And so the C technology changed to now where we get carbon fiber, it's light. The fact that you can go vacuum, suction, you can do all these different things is totally different. And the fact that you have those options, I learned that the pen system didn't work for me. I just kept breaking those, stuff like that. And now that, technology went from using 2 socks to us getting to the point now where you have what's the little second skin thing that you roll over and see that's how much of it. I just like, man, make it work and I go. I'm real low maintenance, but I found out that this is just a life hack. They have us go insurance would charge like $300 for those little socks. And those are just pantyhose over at Walmart. You can get them for $3. So I go get those. I'm like, man, I just saved myself. I don't know what insurance was doing, but technology, I've seen it go that full circle. I don't have any kind of skin issues anymore. I can be up on my leg and the other side. used to have me, I was a little high. And so I would always be resting on my good leg, maybe 90-10. You know, and then now I rest on this leg, maybe 70-30, you know. Because, you know, it's got that energy, it's the bounce back, it doesn't cause me any issues or anything, and I've worn my leg probably 36 hours straight often, just flying over. I never have really take it off. I don't have any issues like that. It's not just tolerance. I'm not in pain or anything. And that's because CrossFit has created something that works for me. Yes, I've seen technology go from just sitting there with my residual hanging in the air, and then we cast it, and I come back and put on a test socket, and I put weight on it for the first time, and I've gone through, and that's when I find issues. Whereas now they have things like that symphony system where it's weight bearing in water, and you stand and so it fits different, and then they make the cast in 5 minutes, whatever, through UV lights and stuff. So to see technology go that whole way, that has been huge. That it?
Yeah, well, before you go, we gotta give you some. Remember you said you wanted something from Pitt, right?
Oh, yeah. Listen, I spoke in Michigan, they won a championship, so you put my stuff in here. We got a chance to win a championship.
Oh, no.
No, I am honored, guys. I'm not just saying that, man. This is something they'll tell you. I couldn't come in September, so I made sure I came back. First available, right? And I was like, hell or high water, doesn't matter. They were like, gonna send Daniel to pick you up. Ken was gonna do that. And then I saw his driving record. I said, no, I'm gonna do it. So I game over. I was like, I'm low maintenance when it comes to anything with prosthetic orthotics. When you finally go to start your place as students, anytime, anywhere you are in God's green earth, you call me, I will show up. No matter how famous, how big I get, to help you grow your own place and do all those things, I will always be available for you. That's a commitment.
All right. Well, as a sign of appreciation, the University Press.
Oh, my
And
goodness.
there's the Cooper Johnson, which is the Dr. Cooper.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
I know you guys have all seen that. Yeah, this is valuable. Thank you, guys.
We have a bunch of pit gear in there.
Oh,
But also,
did you give Lance this?
no, he put it on.
So, no, I'm not that way.
And then you want to look at that, that would be cool.
Oh, my goodness. I didn't know you guys made underwear. No, this is beautiful. You will see me posting this stuff. You'll see me with this.
And small token
thank
of
you.
appreciation here, a certificate of appreciation.
Oh, my goodness. Listen, my grandmother is proud today because I came to Pitt.
There you go.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. We have one more order of business. So John, we have one order of business. If you want to stay up here, we can get it.
Oh.
That would be.
Yeah.
Okay.
We take this opportunity to award the Cooper Johnson Award to a student. And so we go through this process where grad students submit the papers
Okay.
that, and then we have a review. And so I'm honored to present this. Rachel Hibbs and Clive D'Souza did the review and said it was a very difficult decision. And the topic, the review, they said the topic's relevant to increase provision of mainstream smart home technology and design and development of products and systems in these commercial products and to help improve the lives of people with disabilities. They're impressed by the rigor of the methods and the presentation and the results of the study. So I'm happy to award this to Paolo Escobar, who I think I saw here. The title of the paper was Smart Speakers and Skill Use, What Do We Know? So she can tell us what we do know.
You may wanna tell her what she gets with this, right?
So she gets a coin.
Oh, yeah, you go outside.
A certificate,
Oh, my God.
and then $1,000 check.
Oh, my God.
Does Daniel have to be in there?
Good, thank you. Congratulations.
No.